You're watching News 24 Live. Rhodes has fallen on Thursday night. The controversial statue of Cecil John Rhodes was removed from the UCT campus after weeks of sit-ins and protests. A strong supporter of the movement is writer Thando Mqolozana, who is also the author of Unimportance, which focuses on student activism and the removal of hegemonic systems and symbols. He now joins us in studio to discuss this topic further. Thando, thanks very much for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I'm guessing you were at the statue removal ceremony last night. Can you describe for us the atmosphere and the feeling amongst the students that were present?
I anticipated, yes, I was. I anticipated there will be some people, maybe mostly UCT community and you know, a few other people who are interested. But so we had a mass meeting at the now occupied Azania House before the removal of the statue, and from there already there was probably about 2,000 people who were gathering, people who haven't been there before, people from the community and other groups who are supportive of the movement. So we moved from there, and you know, we go through the tunnel, you know, under Wilsack Road, and when it popped up in the field, there were thousands of people already gathering there. So that was the first thing that struck me. But it wasn't, for me, the most significant thing that happened yesterday. The removal of the statue was an obvious thing. It was going to happen. So I had no emotional investment in it. But what struck me was in the mass meeting that took place before that, a group of students from Philippi High School who were in the news this week as well for having come to the Department of Education here. They just rocked up. They didn't call it a march. They called it a rock up. The student who spoke on their behalf, her name is Atule Baba, and she impressed me. I was feeling a bit despondent for a while about the future, thinking, you know, these born frees are unconscious and all that. But the way she spoke so eloquently, and not just in terms of the use of language, but the brains behind it, made me wonder why she's still in high school. She's very smart. She's very clear about injustice and how it should be tackled. So that is what I went home with yesterday. Although I was bargaining on going home with the image of Rhodes falling yesterday.
Now, I believe the dismantling of statues like Cecil John Rhodes is just a small part in the sort of bigger picture, where there's a push for faster and better transformation at universities, which we'll get onto later. But I mean, this has sparked around the country defacing of statues of colonial figures. Do you agree with that, or was Cecil John Rhodes a particularly hurtful figure for black students?
You know, it's been said many times that it's not about the statue, or any statue for that matter, but the statue, the removal of the statue represents a beginning of something, a beginning of, you know, the fall of white supremacy, a beginning of the recognition and acknowledgement of the black experience, of black pain, something that many black people, certainly the students at UCT, feel that hadn't been acknowledged before. So the fall of that statue at their demand is an acknowledgement on the side of the university and the establishment at wide, that it is possible for black pain to be acknowledged. It is possible to look at black rage as something that, you know, is not just dismissed as violent, but something that is necessary, and the only way in which things can actually radically change. So I don't want to see other people just defacing statues for the sake of it and say they must fall. But what does it represent? Only when you understand what it represents should you be engaged in any form of you know, defacing statues or challenging them.
So what you're concerned about specifically, and which obviously you touch on in your novel, is student activism, how it applies to black consciousness, we talk about black pain in the education system?
When I was writing the book, Unimportance, my objective, or what inspired me, was that of all the books that I had read, they had only been referenced to campuses. I mean, James Coetzee in Youth writes about a student who, is registered at UCT. Nick Mhlongo in his first 2 books makes reference to UCT and WITS. And many other novelists, in the world only make reference to the campus experience. And having been to university, I thought we needed a comprehensive account of student life, and not only that, but black student life. Because I went to the University of the Western Cape, and I was quite aware that our experience of campus life was very different from Stellenbosch and UCT. I mean, I remember when I was a member of the Student Representative Council that, our biggest concerns that we would be dealing with at the beginning of the year would be issues of academic exclusions, financial exclusions of academically deserving students, accommodation, basic issues like that, existential issues. Whereas our counterparts at UCT, their biggest concern was to find parking, parking space. If as student leaders you made some kind of inroads in terms of identifying parking, you would be held high, as having achieved something. So I wanted to give an account of our experience, which I didn't see in literature. And basically that is one of my main objectives in writing at all, which is to bring the experiences of black people to the center, from the periphery to the center. That's what I would like to do in all of my literature, because black people have been part of literature. James Coetzee wrote about black people, Nadine Gordimer, Andre Brink, but they were people in the periphery, even when they were protagonists. So my objective was to bring the black experience to the center. I couldn't have anticipated that something like this would happen. As I was saying to you earlier, that I thought, this generation, was not very politicized. They were not very conscious about.
Your book was published last year.
Yeah, it was published last year in April. Well, it's a year.
The timing is quite.
It's perfect. But with novels, they go unnoticed. I'm hoping that people can start making references to it. I mean, one of the interesting things I think from my novel is that I use the names of the struggle stalwarts, to identify buildings. So we have Basil February, Colin Williams, Chris Hani, Hector Peterson, and all of that, which were renamed. And there you see it happening at the moment in broader society. There are definitely parallels. And one of the arguments I make in the book is that Steve Biko's political ideology, which is black consciousness, is probably the strongest we've ever had in this country from the black movement, and is probably the one that will outlive any other political hegemony, certainly the ANC, which is dominant. I mean, I don't understand what non-racialism means, non-sexism means. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it looks like the students at Azania House are adopting exactly that view. I mean, they don't necessarily identify themselves as a black consciousness or a political movement, but you can see the orientation and the culture that is that of the black consciousness movement.